Hi, friends. My name is Sarah, and I'm currently the intentional interim minister with St. Andrew's United Church in Lacombe, Alberta. If you're watching this video, it means that you received the link via the email letter that I sent out to the St. Andrew's Community of Faith. Or you might have found it via our website or our Facebook page, or even this channel itself. No matter what brought you here, welcome. My husband John has graciously shared his YouTube channel, The Accessible Faith Project, with us as a place to share my weekly reflections. There are other videos on this channel which are an opportunity to learn more about the Bible, faith questions, and the like. If you'd like to receive notifications of when new videos are posted, you can do so by clicking on the little bell icon that says subscribe and signing up. It's completely free. Today is Father's Day within North America. A day to show appreciation for our fathers and for those who are father figures to us. It is a week that has seen more rallies, including here in Lacombe, speaking up for justice and stating unequivocally that Black lives matter. And within the United Church of Canada, today is also First Nations Sunday, celebrating the lives of our Indigenous siblings. With these in mind, the favorite hymn I chose to reflect on this week is James K. Manley's Come In and Sit Down, sometimes called Part of the Family. First written in 1984, the words remind the St. Andrew's Community of Faith that we seek to be an open, diverse group that welcomes people of all ages, those who are single, married, divorced, or it's complicated, those who identify as LGBTQ2S+, all views, all interest levels, all stages in the faith journey. It's what we mean when we say that we are an affirming ministry and an affirming congregation, that all are welcome. It's an amazing hymn that has some incredibly deep connections to the Bible. The story of the prodigal son from Luke's Gospel is referenced in the refrain with the words, "We are lost and we are found." And the third verse quotes directly from the passage of Scripture from John's Gospel that I chose for today, that we are the branches and Christ is the vine. It's a passage of Scripture that is both comforting and more than a bit disturbing. It's disturbing because some of the language is rather fierce, that of cutting, pruning, and being thrown into the fire. However, as troubling as this language can be, I don't think that these words are intended as a threat about what happens if we don't abide in Jesus, but rather a metaphorical description of what actually happens when we aren't connected to God as the source of life. If we aren't connected to God, then we end up cut off, withered, and useless, like the branches and the scraps that we clean up from our yards and haul away or burn. And plus, if you've ever seen a pruned bush, you know it's not exactly a pretty picture. Sometimes, in fact, a pruned bush looks so ravaged that it's hard to believe that it will ever bear fruit or flower again. But cutting away the dead growth, whether of a single plant or from a whole garden, is the only way that new life can take place. Being a follower of Jesus, a disciple, doesn't spare us from that cutting and pruning. The question isn't whether we will experience some difficulty, some cutting, some trimming and pruning. The question is whether that will be towards new growth or whether it will be the beginning of more withering. To me, the answer seems to be tied to that part of this passage that is a bit more comforting, the reminder for us to abide. To abide and to remain in Jesus is the central focus of this part of the Gospel of John, and it's language that many of us find heartening and encouraging. Those of you who are gardeners know that branches don't last very long apart from a larger tree or a vine or a plant to which they are attached. And in saying this to his followers, Jesus is urging his disciples to remain in him and with him. He knows at this point that he is about to go, to leave them behind, first in his death on the cross, but even after the resurrection through his ascension to heaven. And Jesus wants them to be prepared, to remain in fellowship with each other, to connect with each other and with God, and to abide in his teaching and his example. Of course, 2,000 years later, we live in a day and age of connecting to one another. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic and the increase of the use of Zoom, Skype, Google Hangout, and others, we were using tools like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We have access to more sources of news and information and entertainment than ever before. And yet many people report feeling increasingly isolated, lonely, and even depressed. And yet, I believe Jesus was talking about more than simply connecting to one another in this passage, because just connecting isn't enough to nourish life. We are called to be the people that God made us to be real and authentic. In other words, we are called to go deeper, to be in relationship with God and with one another. Email and social media, of course, can help us to connect to each other, but they aren't the same thing as being in a genuine relationship and in a community with one another. That's what I think Jesus means by abiding in him. It's an invitation for us to be real, to be honest about who and what we are, even if that means admitting our tendency to flee the light and to hide in the darkness because we are afraid. Jesus invites his disciples and us to be honest, to be real, and having confessed our hopes and our fears, our dreams and our disappointments, our accomplishments and our failures, our blessings and yes, our sin, to know that in all of these things we are accepted, we are loved, and we are forgiven. And so in light of God's welcome and acceptance of us, we can then turn and try to accept one another, to live with the imperfections of even our best relationships and communities, because we know ourselves to be imperfect and flawed, and yet also so incredibly loved. I had the opportunity to have a couple of conversations with James Manley and about this deep sense of abiding and about being in real relationship with one another and with God. And these were what he had in mind when he wrote Part of the Family. He shared with me that he originally penned this hymn for the memorial service of a teenage boy. And when I first heard this, I was surprised because its words and its music are upbeat and not something that most of us would typically associate with death, especially not the death of one who died so young. And yet, when I pondered about it some more, it began to make sense. The first verse talks about knowing the reason why you came, and yet no reason can explain. So share in the laughter and cry in the pain, for we are a part of the family. Manley's words speak of the care, concern, and support found in the relationships within a community of faith. And in particular, at a memorial service, these words speak of the reality that there are no answers when it comes to the death of a young person. And yet, how that community of faith could share together in both times of laughter and times of great pain and sorrow, knowing that they were not alone. For God is present in all things. God is with us. Or as Manley's words say so well within the second verse, God is with us in this place. To speak and to sing at this young man's funeral about being a part of the community of faith, about how we all belong, of how we are connected with each other and with God, and of how we are all welcome, I think sends an incredible message of love, of care, of community, and of being in relationship. Overall, I believe that Manley's powerful words and music echo Jesus' words from John's Gospel about abiding in God. And so, as followers of Jesus, we are called to be a community that isn't just a place or a building, but also a people in which we can admit who we are and in which we can create a space where others can do the same. A community where the hurts and the hardships of life can be borne together and the joys and celebrations uplifted. A community where we can relate to one another in a way that's real and authentic and life-giving. Where we can be connected with God as branches are connected to the vine. Where we are a part of the family of God, and where we live out through our actions that sense of God's acceptance, grace, and love. And so I would invite you to sing along with me this wonderful hymn about abiding together in God's love. Come in and sit down. You are a part of the family. We are lost and we are found, and we are a part of the family. You know the reason why you came, yet no reason can explain. So share in the laughter and cry in the pain, for we are a part of the family. Come in and sit down. You are a part of the family. We are lost and we are found, and we are a part of the family. God is with us in this place, like a mother's warm embrace. We're all forgiven by God's grace, for we are a part of the family. Come in and sit down. You are a part of the family. We are lost and we are found, and we are a part of the family. There's life to be shared in the bread and the wine. We are the